Good morning, everyone. Today I want to discuss a topic that is sad, kinda, near and dear to my heart. That is the discontinuation of the air-cooled EVO Sportsters, which, in my opinion, means just the discontinuation of the Sportster line, period. And I say that because although I think the Sportster S and the new Roadster are pretty cool, they're perfectly fine bikes. They serve a purpose. They're not Sportsters in the sense of, like, you know, they don't capture, they don't capture what it means to be a Sportster in the traditional sense, right? I think they're fine. I just think they should be called something different. That's just my opinion. But anyway, but we can talk about that. So, first of all, I actually, believe it or not, have not been following Harley's bikes that closely for quite a few years now. To be honest with you, the last 5, or I should say like 2-3 years ago, the 5 years prior to that, I'd kind of given up. I just thought Harley was not making bikes that they just weren't making bikes that I like, for a whole variety of reasons. One of my complaints, actually, was the fact that the Sportster still had a 5-speed, still had the same power output, still had the same EVO motor. And I just say that because, not because any of it's bad, but because, like, when you run an engine line, and it was unchanged since 04, other than fuel injection, basically, right? More or less identical. So these bikes were basically identical since 04, minus fuel injection, and 07 or 8 or whatever, for fuel injection. I mean, yeah, you have different submodels, of course, but the whole chassis, the whole bike itself was the same. And I don't know, it's too long. Like you take something that's good and you just wear it out. I don't know, just like, I mean, imagine if like a car company did that, right? They just ran the exact same model line vehicle for that many years. I don't know, I think people would be worn out by it. So a couple things they could have done. They could have done a 6-speed easily enough, I'm sure. I mean, Baker makes a 6-speed kit for the older Sportster, so like, why not, right? So that would have helped. And then, I mean, they could have messed with displacement, but even if they didn't, they could have squeezed a little bigger cam in there and stuff like that, gotten the bike a little bit more powerful. They also could have done another frame redesign, kept the power where it was at, but make it lighter. I'm sure they could have found a way to make it lighter, and maybe stiffer too. And then make a bike that's just, you know, that much more competitive, right? And the cool thing with the EVO Sportster was it never really fit in a market segment. And the only bike to come close is the Bolt 1100, in my opinion. But, like, I don't know, throughout history, I just feel like the Sportsters never really had a direct competitor. It's like a little too small to be competing against any of the Suzuki Boulevard type bikes and the Honda. Oh my gosh, whatever, I can't think of the name of it, but anyway, all those bikes are more Dyna size, so the Dyna has plenty of competitors, now the new Softails, so they have plenty of competitors, but like the Sportster really kind of sort of didn't. It had tall, skinny bike with good lean angles, if you put the suspension where it meant to be, where God intended it, high. I don't know, the dual front brakes, it just didn't really. Every other cruiser bike around it was just like a different experience. Like the Indian Scout, I mean, it's not even close comparison. It's fine bike, but it's just different, right? It's not tall and skinny. It's low and wide and doesn't have a lot of lean angle and all that sort of thing. So there's different bikes. And I mean, they're comparable in some ways, don't get me wrong, but anywho, so that's kind of something I always liked about the Sportster. And I always tell people, I bought a Harley because they made the Sportster. I didn't buy a Sportster to get a Harley. And that's kind of typically the thing that people do. And I think that's why I've had this bike so long, because it's the bike I actually wanted, not some compromise just to say that I rode a Harley Davidson. Now, of course, I want multiple bikes just because, but anyway. So I gotta, I don't know. I gotta, like, Harley's gotta figure out what they're gonna slot into this, because even the Sportster S and like the Nightster, they have forward controls. They're like, yeah, they're sporty and they have powerful motors, but like, I don't know. I've ridden it. They don't handle like this does. This actually just handles better. And don't get me wrong. I keep in mind, I'm saying all this, but like I realize you got to put suspension work on these to actually make them handle. And I think that's what killed the Sportster line. Other than the fact that it probably can't meet the moderate emissions. The stock Sportsters just don't, like EVO Sportsters just don't handle as good as they should. I mean, there's so much potential in this chassis. It's not perfect. Definitely, the chassis itself actually has big limitations. You know, for example, really high-speed cornering, you're going to get chassis flex. You can feel it. Not much you can do about it. You can mitigate it with a good suspension and steering stabilizer, I'm sure. Anyway, I'm rambling. The point is, there are limitations. This is a freaking 15, 20-year-old chassis design now. And if you look at the solid mount Sportster versus this, it's not that much different. So really, I think that the chassis design goes back into the 90s, and they just kind of chunked it up a little bit and threw rubber mounts on it. Because really, it is not that much different than a 90s Sportster, so, you know, or 80s. So it's definitely a compromised platform in that sense. I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong, it's a great platform overall. But yeah, when you start making only bikes like the 48 and the Irons, and they're good bikes, but they're low, and this Sportster can't shine unless it has lean angle. Other than cost, there's no reason to buy this bike over most any other Harley or a lot of the Japanese similar bikes. Again, not direct competitor. If you don't have lean angle, because this thing shines using its nimble, smaller chassis than a Dyna or a new Softail to give you the performance characteristics you want. Without that, you have a cool bike. You know, lower Sportster looks perfectly fine, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you're not getting the most out of what it can be, and because of that, you're not going to see the benefits of what this chassis can provide. I don't know. So I think a lot of the Sportsters, I mean, most of the Sportsters out of the box. Let me actually go back. All of the Sportsters out of the box, some worse than others, really quite underwhelmed their rider. You know, if you put $1,000 to $2,000 worth of suspension mods into it, which can kind of be said for any Harley, by the way, and a lot of other bikes for that terms. But if you do that, then they handle pretty well. Give me a 6-speed, give me a little more power, like give me a reason to say, okay, I have an 05 Sportster, I want to upgrade to a 2022. Because without some of those things, like, why would I upgrade? Like, okay, this bike's carbureted, and it's just old, but other than that, it's basically identical for all usable, measurable purposes to a 2022, EVO Sportster. So it's like, I would upgrade, and I'd get a lower bike that, for me personally, I'd want to raise back up and spend money doing that. I get fuel injection, so okay, that'd be nice. And that's about it. I mean, like, it's not going to be better stock in any meaningful way. Alright guys, I'm back. What do I think Harley's going to do in the future to kind of truly replace the EVO Sportster line? I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but I don't think anything, because they've already weaned it away. There's only 2 submodels left, right? Or 3? I mean, they've already kind of weaned it away, and I guess they're okay with that. I guess sales on other bikes are making up for it. I'm not really sure how all that works, but clearly they're making do, right? The doors are open. I don't think the Sportster's not carrying Harley anymore. I don't know if it ever was, but it definitely isn't now. So I don't know if they're going to replace it with anything. If they were to replace it with something, it's tough, because the Milwaukee 8's too big. I mean, it's the whole point of a Sportster was it was never the same engine as a big twin. So the Milwaukee 8's physically too large to make anything small enough to really want to call it a Sportster. But this is where I have some level of positivity for Harley right now. If they took the RevMax motors which of course they're water cooled, a little higher revving. But if they took the RevMax motors and they have like essentially a naked bike frame right now on the Sportster S and the really, I don't know if I call it a naked bike frame. It's like a muscle cruiser, I don't know, whatever the heck you want to call it. It's not a Sportster frame, right? They took the RevMax motor, made a modernized frame with similar dimensions to the current EVO Sportsters. So I mean, we're getting kind of Yamaha Bolt-ish here, or even Honda Rebel 1100-ish. That was the other bike I think that competes with the Sportster pretty well. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe you kind of like do something like that. Again, I want a tall, skinny bike, and you could do a monoshock, but if you left the remote reservoir shocks, people would freaking love that. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, people would love if you had remote reservoir shocks. I meant external, two separate external shocks. People would love that. Yeah, I don't know if they'll do that, but that would be cool. I mean, like if I had my exact bike, for example, with a RevMax motor making 120 horse. I mean, I'm a big air-cooled Harley motor guy, but that'd be a hard bike to pass up. I mean, that's a lot of power out of the box. It's a much better package out of the box from a performance perspective than you'll really ever get out of this bike, even with heavy modification. You know, you could get to that, but it's going to have other compromises. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of things they could do. I mean, how cool would it be to have a Sportster like this on this chassis or similar chassis to this that out of the box could power wheel it? You know, like that'd be kind of cool, like legit power wheeling. There's a lot of ways they could go with this. Is this a lane yet? I think so. I don't think they'll do that. I think they're going to really buckle down on their Sportster S and Nightster style, you know, that frame style with the RevMax motor. They'll probably make more submodels. Hopefully those submodels are good, and maybe they will jack them up a little bit and like make them more similar to a bike like this. I also want them to change the rider position. A lot of things I'd like to see them do on those bikes, but they have potential. So the other thing is, the Lowrider S, it's a lot more money than many of the Sportster models were, of course. But handling-wise, really, truly, probably out-handles even a well-modified Sportster stock. So a bike that handles that well, yeah, it's a big twin, but I mean, it does actually kind of fill the void, as long as you don't mind the extra weight. But from a riding style perspective, it's there. So that's kind of a way to get over your EVO Sportster love, your breakup, I should say. You know, I've been in a relationship with an EVO Sportster for 11 years now, so I'm as sad as the next guy. But hey, you know what? I'm also a pretty forward-thinking guy, and the EVO Sportster's had a heck of a run. It's always going to have a soft spot in my heart. And you'll always be able to buy them. I mean, they're not going anywhere on the used market. And, I mean, you probably need some odds and ends parts off a takeoff bike, but you could almost build a new one. You know, I'm sure somebody somewhere makes frames, and they definitely make crate motors and all that kind of stuff. So you can get your EVO Sportster love if you really, really, really want it. Not quite as easy as going to your local dealer and picking one up, but I don't know. Were you going to do that anyway and not modify the crap out of it? Who knows? So, it's all good. This guy's ripping in the old Kia. Gotta test that. Gotta keep those tires worn evenly. freaking love this bike. I can't believe they discontinued him. No, I can't. But they're fun, man. It's, you know, they're gonna not, these bikes are not gonna surprise you in any measurable statistic. They're just a fun bike. You just have to accept the fact that that's what they're there for, to have fun. They're not gonna, like, be the fastest. They're not gonna handle the best. I mean, actually, there's really so many better ways to spend your money. I get why Harley canceled this. I mean, you know, everybody everywhere who has a fun, truly fun performance cruiser or Sportster has put down thousands of dollars into it, as have I. But once you do that, I don't know, there's just something, I hate to, oh my God, I hate to use this line. You just don't understand the feeling, man, of riding a Harley. But like, I don't know, there's something about these bikes that they do elicit a different experience than other bikes I've ridden. Now you could argue it's a worse experience, and I don't even think you're wrong. I just like it. I don't know, it's just fun. It's like, the vibration's kind of fun, and it's not that bad as people make it sound, and I don't know. Now I'm just Harley fanboying, but and I'm really not. I'm pretty critical on Harley if you watch my videos, in a lot of ways. I mean, I think recently I think they've made some good bikes, but as usual, I'm rambling, so I'm gonna end this one. This is gonna be a longer video as it is. I think I've said my piece though. So thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you on the next one.